Peace, love, and cheers to all fellow YouTubers and Lightworker community. Things that I never needed taught to me. Things that ever since my earliest memories I had an inner knowing of. I wanted to share these few things to reach out and see if you've felt the same way. One of those things is the relationship between mortality and immortality. My heart always told me at the earliest ages when I could start to gravel these concepts, the idea of immortality being to exist as long as you like for an eternity in one physical form. I found that weird. I found it wasn't right or natural. And looking back on it, I've always had that inner sense of knowing because you look at the Western world in general and our culture, we fear death. We avoid death. So I would say in a poem, is it death we fear, or do we fear truly living? And if we truly lived, would we fear death at all? To me, mortality was sheer evidence of us being immortal. An immortal intellect that brings forth the manifestation of this current reality and beyond. Before and after simultaneously, in the present, continuously. But yeah, and I correlated this with the basic lesson you learned when you're a kid. At least I was told it, which of course is obvious in science. Energy never dies. Energy itself can't die. Energy itself changes form. So to me, what are we but energy in the expression of sentient form? Sentient form with the capacity of knowing our own mortality, which gives us the inner capacity of knowing our immortality. This ties to another inner sense of knowing of familiarity in midst of the unknown. Because none of us really remember beyond this lifetime as much. I know for a fact I haven't, but that ties into another thing I've always known. A sense of reincarnation. One thing I thought was silly as a kid or intimidating was heaven after death. The idea that I would just go to I could go to a place for eternity where there's no challenges, there's just pure unconditional love and bliss, and you don't do anything more, you just live that happily ever after. Sounds so boring. Did it sound like it made any just no sense to me as a child? I looked at the themes of heaven, I looked at the themes of hell, and especially once I got older, I had this recognition of like, isn't existence itself heaven and hell simultaneously? After all, you can't have one without the other, without gravity. The demons go down, the angels go up. Gravity binds with her unapologetic honesty. Now, this inner truth of reincarnation happens because, happened for me Because before these memories, I've had these earliest memories in this life. I have memories of my death in the other life, or I can only associate it to that. It's what I always naturally did associate it to. I was an old man with a white beard in this almost seemed like a cornfield or rice field or something like that in this barn. And there were two elders there who were mourning my death. It seemed like I died because I was floating out of my body. And I was floating beyond through the roof and then beyond the landscape that I was at. And it's really weird because when I look at the memory of the old man and what he looks like in my memory, and I'm talking about things that I just always had in my mind, um, in my earliest memories that I can, you know, three with a red sports car bed. Even then I had these memories, and now that I'm at a point where I'm at, I'm starting to realize, like, whoa, is that like me experiencing my death before I have life? Because after those memories, it went in the order of fading away and then going into what I suppose could be described as heaven. It was this canvas of blankness, pure light. Just like, imagine being like, you see a white canvas. Imagine all of everything being in this white canvas where there's no, your suspended animation. Furthermore, there was no animation. Everything was pure white. It was very comforting. It was very loving. And there's this sense of um, inner soul agenda or something that was foretelling to coming back in a mortal form. It's the best I can describe it, because you can't really put words to it. Then after that pure unconditional love, or no animation, no gravity, just nothingness. But nothingness that wasn't discomforting. It was on contrary. It was almost like the origin of souls in a way. Um, and I come back. And this curtails too one thing nature, wildlife has always taught me. And it's a beautiful lesson that the instant you're born, death is side by side with you. That whole proverb. The minute you're born, you're dying all the time. I think that's pessimistic, but really it's the truth. You take a walk in the woods, you have death side by side with birth. You have new life that grows in midst of decomposed decay from that which was the old. A natural recycling process where the wordless beauty, the sense of novelty that we as sentient beings having this human experience apply, is the meaning unto itself. We ask, what is the meaning to life? Precisely because we are the meaning itself asking. We are the cosmos itself observing ourselves at this specific microscopic perspective or point of view that is this human experience. In a roundabout way, all these thoughts and ideas I always talk about, mostly I'm speaking from the heart of things that I never had to have taught to me. And I believe you never had to have taught to you. Another thing I always knew, I call it the Truman Show effect, because when I had this effect, it was way before I even knew the movie Truman Show with Jim Carrey. Check it out, great movie. This sense that there's so much more to existence than we currently embody and live. This inner knowing that that was the case, and also this inner knowing that I'm here for the sheer purpose of transmuting that lack thereof existence. That makes sense. That for some reason, one way or the other, I have an inner sense of knowing that would be identified as Indigo Kid or Light Warrior or as the Hopi tribe. And the Hopis, they love the Pleiades, funny enough. They had this prophecy called the Rainbow Warriors, where the young generation, at a certain point when humanity becomes the most disconnected and severed by spirit, the young generation becomes the pioneer to help reconnect and rekindle ourselves to spirit, ourselves to the vast, equal intellect that we all universally embody. It's inescapable. And it's inescapable, this awakening, at a time when we're the least awoken collectively and we've forgotten collectively. It's the grandiose cycle. And for some reason, I know that we have done this before. Doing it again. So yeah. Thought I had more, but I'll wrap it up at that. Peace, love, and cheers. Namaste. I give thee my unconditional love and light, unconditionally so, knowing it is received back, unconditionally so. Love and light, the great unifier, the great equalizer, to all that exists. All that exists being a unique manifestation unto each other. Ja.